The sky was burning. Ships crashed like falling stars, and the ground shook with every blast. No one knew who fired first, but peace was dead now. Commander Rhea stood on the blackened hill, her face covered in ash. In her hand, the peace message still blinked. It had been sent to the Varake Empire 3 days ago. They never replied. Instead, they answered with fire. 3 human outposts were destroyed within hours. Thousands gone. No warning. No mercy. The Varake left behind only one word, painted in blood on metal: submit. But humanity doesn't kneel. Back on Earth, leaders gathered in silence. The final hope for peace had failed. Everyone knew what came next: war. Across every colony, alarms sounded. Soldiers were called. Old weapons were taken out of storage. Even farmers and students joined training lines. The last warning had been given. The message was clear. And somewhere in the shadows of deep space, the human fleet began to move. Because when peace is broken, humans do not beg. They fight. Alarms echoed across Earth's sky domes and far-off space colonies. Red lights flashed. Messages appeared on every screen. Mobilize. Code. War. People stopped in the streets. Silence followed. Then came the roar of engines, soldiers marching, and factories coming back to life. High Command knew there was no time left. The Varake Empire had broken the treaty, slaughtered human civilians, and painted their ships with blood. Earth had sent peace. The Varake sent death. Now humanity would answer. Old military bases, buried since the last galactic war, were opened again. Giant hangars roared to life. Titan's massive human war machines were powered up for the first time in decades. Across the colonies, veteran soldiers returned to duty, and new recruits trained with fire in their eyes. On Mars, the Iron Drop Corps stood in formation, silent, deadly, ready. These weren't ordinary troops. These were the ones sent first, or never seen again. Above all, the message was clear. Humanity would not run, would not kneel. They would rise. And far beyond the stars, the Varake had no idea what was coming for them. The stars were quiet. Too quiet. Then, without warning, fire rained from the black. Human warships dropped from hyperspace like thunder, surrounding a Varake supply base near the edge of the Zarn Belt. Within seconds, the sky turned red. The first human strike had begun. No mercy, no warnings. Just raw, silent revenge. Captain Juno led the assault, her voice calm through the comms. No survivors. They had their chance. Human soldiers in dark armor stormed the base. Their weapons glowed with blue plasma. The Varake defenders screamed, caught off guard. Their base, once proud and secure, fell in under 5 minutes. Inside the command tower, a message was carved onto the metal wall with a combat knife. You wanted war, you got us. When the human fleet vanished back into space, they left nothing. Behind only ashes and fear, the Varake Empire was shaken. They thought humans were weak, slow to act. Now they knew the truth. Peace had been their only protection. Now that it was gone, humanity would become something else. A storm. The twin suns blazed above the desert moon of Kareth. Sandstorms howled like wild beasts, and the heat could melt steel. No one sane would fight here, but humans had arrived. A single drop ship landed. In the dust, kicking up fire and wind, 40 soldiers stepped out, tired, silent, and ready. Their mission was clear: hold this ground. Destroy the Varake convoy. No backup, no retreat. Hours passed. Then came the enemy, hundreds of Varake warriors in armored crawlers, laughing, certain of victory. They had numbers. They had weapons. But they didn't know what humans had become. The battle started fast. Traps hidden in the sand exploded, flipping enemy tanks. Human snipers struck from the rocks. Shadows moved through the storm, fast, brutal, silent. By nightfall, the sand was red. Only 12 humans remained, standing with smoke rising behind them, the Varak convoy. Gone. From orbit, drones captured the message scratched into the ground. With a blade, still think we're prey? The desert had taken many lives, but the humans, they had turned it into a graveyard. And this was just the beginning. The Varak homeworld was a fortress, dark skies, endless towers, and ships like knives patrolling above. No human had ever stepped foot here, until now. A stealth ship, painted black as space, broke through their defenses in silence. Inside, 5 elite humans moved like ghosts. Their mission: find the Varak's secret weapon, destroy it, or die. Trying, they crept through the city's underbelly, sewers, vents, shadows. Every step was risk, every breath a whisper. One wrong move and they'd be surrounded by thousands. But what they found was far worse than expected. Deep inside an ancient vault, the Varak were building a weapon powered by a dying star. Not a bomb, a sun killer. One blast could erase Earth forever. The humans downloaded everything. Maps, energy codes, plans. Then the alarm screamed. The team ran, fighting through fire and steel. One soldier stayed behind, sealing the door, smiling through the flames. "Get it home," he said. "Tell Earth what's coming." The ship escaped. Barely. Now Earth knew the truth. The Varak didn't just want war, they wanted extinction. And humanity had one shot to stop it. Chains clanked in the cold dark. Cell. Blood dripped slowly from the human's mouth. But he didn't scream. He just smiled. Sergeant Kane had been captured during the escape. Now he was locked deep inside a Varak prison, stripped of weapons, beaten daily, questioned endlessly. They wanted him to beg. They wanted fear, but he gave them silence. Then one day the Varak warlord came himself, tall, ruthless. "Your people will burn," he growled. "Your son will die." Kane lifted his head, eyes sharp. "Then we'll drag you into the dark with us." The warlord struck him, hard. Still, Kane laughed. "You think I'm afraid to die?" He said. "We were born in fire, raised in war. You started this. Now watch what comes for you." His words echoed through the halls. Unseen by the guards, Varak slaves paused. They had never heard defiance, never seen strength in chains. And something changed. Rumors spread of a human who would not break. A soldier who spoke of freedom like it was a weapon. Even inside a prison, humanity was fighting back. And the fire was starting to spread. The night above the Varak capital turned red. Human ships burst from hyperspace, sleek, silent, and deadly. Within moments, the sky became a battlefield. Lasers lit up the dark like lightning. Explosions shook the towers below. Operation Hellstorm had begun. Captain Rhea led the assault from the flagship Vanguard. Her voice cut through the chaos, no holding back. "Hit them where it hurts." Squadrons of fighters dove into enemy formations, tearing through metal and flame. Human gunships rained fire on orbital defense rings, breaking apart the Varak stronghold. Piece by piece, below, Varak citizens screamed in panic. Their once invincible capital was under siege for the first time in history. On the ground, rebel forces, Varak slaves, inspired by the human prisoners' words, rose up. They stole weapons, opened gates. Chaos spread from the shadows. The Varak were no longer fighting just humans. They were fighting their own. As enemy towers collapsed and warships fell burning from the sky, the message became clear. This wasn't just an attack. This was judgment, and Earth was no longer asking for peace. It was delivering fury. Beneath the Varak capital, hidden for centuries, something ancient began to stir. A deep mechanical roar echoed from the underground vaults. Walls cracked. Power surged, and then it rose. A war machine taller than mountains, forged before even the Varak's oldest records, the Devourer. Built to end planets, designed to never fall. The Varak, desperate and cornered, had awakened it. From orbit, human commanders watched the monster rise through clouds of dust and fire. It took one step and a tower collapsed. Its eyes burned. Like suns, its weapons could turn cities into ash. Earth's fleet fired everything they had. Missiles, cannons, drones. Nothing stopped it. Then came a voice on the comms. "I'm going in." Lieutenant Arya, pilot of the Titan-class mech Thunderchild, launched from orbit. Alone, her mech flew like a comet toward the beast. She landed on its shoulder, crawling through fire and metal to reach the core. "I'm not leaving till it dies," she said. Inside the Devourer, she overloaded her mech's reactor. The explosion lit the sky like a second sun. Silence followed. The beast fell. She never came back. But the monster did not rise again. The dust hadn't settled. Fires still burned across the Varak capital. Smoke curled into the sky, and broken towers leaned like fallen giants. The Varak High Council sent a message. "We surrender. We want peace." But Earth did not answer. "General." Thorn stood among the ruins, his armor cracked, his face unreadable. Around him marched thousands of human soldiers, silent, fierce, unstoppable. Too much had been lost. Too many had died. Peace was offered once, and the Varak answered with blood. Now, humanity would decide how it ended. A young Varak officer approached, trembling. "Please, we have families, children." Thorn's voice was cold. "So did we." The order was given. Human forces swept through the last of the Varak defenses, disabling weapons, removing leaders, freeing captives. But they left one thing untouched: fear. The galaxy watched. They had always seen humans as young, fragile, desperate for alliances. Now they saw something else, a species that bends, but never breaks. The war wasn't just won. It was rewritten. There was no going back. And the universe would never forget what happened when peace was betrayed. The war was over. The guns were silent. The stars, once lit with fire, now shimmered with quiet. But peace had a cost. Cities across Earth mourned their fallen. Homes were gone. Names carved in steel walls stretched for miles. And though the Varak Empire had surrendered, no one cheered. "General." Thorn looked out from the ruins of the Varak capital. A child tugged at his sleeve. Varak, small, afraid. He didn't speak, just stared. Thorn turned away. "We won," he whispered. But it didn't feel like victory. Across the galaxy, humans began to rebuild. Colonies returned to life. Farms grew again. But something inside had changed. They were not the same species that once begged for peace. They had become harder, sharper, unforgiving. Some asked if they went too far. Others answered, "We gave peace." They chose war. Now, when the stars spoke of humanity, they didn't call them diplomats or dreamers. They called them survivors, warriors. The final message was broadcast on every frequency. "We don't start wars, but if you bring one to our door, you will." Not walk away. Peace had returned, but it had learned to carry a sword.